Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be going over some things regarding the Orioles and the Ravens in today's episode. Obviously, there is no Orioles game today. There obviously is no Ravens game today. The Orioles have a day off. They did play yesterday, but we did not go over yesterday's Orioles game, so I did want to come on here today and discuss the Orioles game kind of in full, just talk about that game and what happened. But we are like 16 hours removed from the Ravens game yesterday. We made an episode yesterday. If you want to check it out, it is going to be the episode right before this, episode 148. But we did obviously cover the Ravens game last night, everything that happened. It was a long episode. There was a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. Obviously, there was a lot that happened. For those of y'all who know, and for those of y'all who've probably seen by now, because in the sports world, it's like the biggest thing that happened yesterday in the sports world. But the Ravens and the Bills played an absolute thriller of a game. One of the best regular season games in the past 4 to 5 years, in my opinion. Just from a fan's perspective, I think that game was one of the best games that's happened in quite a while in the regular season, and even including the playoffs as well. You kind of think back to like the Chiefs-Bills playoff game a few years ago. Like, it kind of had those same type of vibes to it, where every little thing mattered so much. And this was week one. This was a week one game. This isn't like, the divisional round. This isn't the AFC Championship game. This isn't the Super Bowl. This was a week one game, and the Ravens and the Bills went out there and put on an absolute game. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, the two MVP frontrunners last season, went out there and showed why they're the two best quarterbacks in football. They went out there and proved that. And from a fan's perspective, it was a really cool thing to watch. And obviously, if you're a Ravens fan, it was a very bad night. It was a very bad night for Ravens fans. There was a lot to, come away with at the game and be very happy about regarding the offense. Knowing that Derrick Henry is still a beast, knowing that Zay Flowers is amazing, knowing that Lamar Jackson is still amazing, knowing that DeAndre Hopkins still's got those one-handed catches in him, knowing that Kyle Hamilton is still such an incredible player. There's so many positives that came out of that Ravens game last night, but there was also a lot of negatives, and none of the positives really matter when you lose in the way that they did last night, when you outplay the Bills for 3.5 quarters, and then in the final 7 minutes of the game, you completely collapse. You take your foot off the gas, and this is what ended up happening. You think back to the Cowboys game last season where the Ravens were up big in the fourth quarter. They took their foot off the gas, and the Cowboys almost came back in that game before the Ravens got a first down and closed out the game. And being 16 hours removed now from the game, having slept on it, I do feel a little bit better about it. Obviously, last night, the emotions and the initial shock was there for sure, I think, for a lot of Ravens fans. And obviously it's disappointing, it's upsetting, but we've seen this so many times with this team already that we can't really be that surprised at the result that happened last night. We know that this is just the John Harbaugh effect, but after kind of sitting on it, there is some things that I do want to go over just really quickly before we go over this Orioles game. And also, John Harbaugh did have a media press conference this morning that ended like 30 minutes ago. So I do have some things highlighted on Twitter that I do want to go over. The fan altercation that happened last night, I didn't talk about it in yesterday's episode. I was more talking about the game. But after the DeAndre Hopkins touchdown yesterday, DeAndre Hopkins went over to the fence where the Bills fans were at, at the, by the corner of the end zone. And he was kind of high-fiving some people just walking near that edge. And, there was a fan in a red Bills jersey that slapped DeAndre Hopkins' helmet, and DeAndre Hopkins didn't really react, but then a fan kind of slapped Lamar Jackson's helmet, and Lamar went and pushed him and shoved him back into the stands. So I'll play that video later when we talk about it. Actually, I'll just play that now. We'll just get this out the way because it was a really crazy scenario. That fan actually ended up getting banned from the Bills games and any other NFL games, I think, indefinitely. I think it's an indefinite suspension from Bills games and NFL games because you can't be doing that to players. You can't be going out there and hitting players. Lamar Jackson, obviously, yesterday's post-game reaction, he did talk about how he kind of let the emotions get the best of him. But at the same time, you really can't blame him. You know, you really can't blame him. When you got Bills fans throwing frozen water bottles at Derrick Henry after he scored a touchdown, when you got players throwing things on people when they score touchdowns on the Ravens, and then obviously if a fan like slapping Lamar's helmet, you know, obviously Lamar is going to react in a way. It's a very high-intense situation. You're in the middle of a very close game, on the road, very loud environment. So you don't really blame the guy, but I do want to show you all the video just real quick. So this is the video of what happened yesterday. So as you can see, they are by the corner. And for those of you on YouTube, you all are able to see this. If you're on Spotify, if you want to see the video, head over to the Birds of a Feather YouTube channel. You can go and watch this or just look it up. It's a lot of different places. But as you can see, Lamar Jackson and, you know, the crew and everyone, you know, Roger Rosengarten's right here, Daniel Falele's right here, DeAndre Hopkins is right here. They're over by kind of the corner of the end zone where a bunch of Bills fans are. Obviously, as you can see, it is a sea of Bills fans. And if you see where my cursor is right here, there is a Bills fan in a red jersey that is right here. He slaps DeAndre Hopkins' helmet right here. So he slaps D-Hop's helmet. D-Hop really doesn't react. You know, he just scored a touchdown. Cameras are in his face. He's very excited. He just made a vintage D-Hop play. But if you watch right here, the fan also, let me rewind this real quick. The fan also kind of shoves Lamar Jackson's helmet. So you can see right here, they kind of shove Lamar Jackson's helmet right here, and then Lamar goes up and shoves him back into the stands. We'll replay this one more time. He shoves him back into the stands. Very deserved. Fans really need to know what their limits are when it comes to actually being at a game. And Bills fans, as we know, are very wild, very rowdy, very passionate fan base. They donate a lot of money to charity, to players. As if you go back to last season in the playoffs when Mark Andrews dropped the 2-point conversion, he was getting a lot of death threats online from a lot of Ravens fans, from a lot of, you know, really from a lot of Ravens fans. And, you know, there's obviously that's not me, that's not most people in terms of the Ravens fan base, you know, but there are some sickos out there that will do those things and will say those things about people. So, and the Bills fans did donate to Mark Andrews' charity, which was a really cool gesture. They also donated to Lamar's charity when he got a concussion in Buffalo a few years ago. So Bills fans do a lot of good. They donate a lot of money. They do a lot of good things. But, I mean, yesterday they were throwing water bottles at Derrick Henry after he scored a touchdown. And then obviously you have this one Bills fan right here that literally pushes Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson shoves him back. So it serves him right. I mean, you can't really blame Lamar for acting the way that he did right there. Just very, very bad behavior by a fan in the stands. He looks like he's like 17 or 18 years old. So he is now banned from NFL games for I don't know if it's for the rest of this season only or in general, but I know he's banned from Bills games and any other NFL games. So we got that taken care of, got that out of the way. But that was kind of just a bizarre thing that happened, just added on to everything else that happened in yesterday's game. But going over some of my just thoughts real quick before we head into the other things we want to talk about this episode, just my initial thoughts on everything after I've slept on everything that's happened. I will say, I do think looking back on it, we should have 100% gone for it on 4th down. The 4th and 2 that happened at the end of the game, it was 4th down and 2 on the final drive of the game for the Ravens with a little under 2 minutes left. Where we gave the ball back to Buffalo with like a minute and a half left on the clock. I do think looking back on it, we should have gone for it on 4th down instead of punting, because in my mind, the defense that entire game was getting torched already, and there was no. The defense was getting torched by Josh Allen. Josh Allen was torching this Ravens defense. There was no possible thing in my mind that would have thought that like the Ravens defense was going to be able to get a stop against the Bills with a minute and a half left on the clock. It's kind of one of those scenarios when you think back to a guy like Tom Brady. If you give Tom Brady the ball back with like a little over a minute left, even with no timeouts, and all they need is a field goal, they're going to find a way to score and to win the game. That's what Josh Allen does. He's an incredible quarterback. He's done this a lot of times in his career. It's what elite and great quarterbacks do. And the Bills, obviously had it rolling in the second half, or especially in that fourth quarter, they had it rolling. There was no sign of the Ravens defense stopping the Bills. And instead of going forward on 4th and 2 on your own 40, the Ravens decide to punt the ball away, give it back to the Bills with a little over a minute left with no timeouts, and Josh Allen went down the field, carved up Jair Alexander specifically, and ended up kicking the time-expiring game-winning field goal and winning by 1. So I think the reason why we should have gone forward on 4th down, you think back to the Chiefs game that happened a few years ago where it was the only win that the Ravens have against the Chiefs, where we went for it on 4th down on our own 40. And we got it was like 4th and 1. We went forward on 4th down. We got the first down, and we won the game. And we beat the Chiefs by 1 point. Kind of a very similar scenario right here. The Ravens were up by 2 points. Obviously, there was a lot of things that happened in that fourth quarter. But all in all, when it came to that moment, the Ravens needed a first down to win the game. If they got a first down, they win the football game. This Bills defense, this Ravens offense was torching the Bills defense all night, running all over them. Zay Flowers was catching the ball all over him. Lamar Jackson was doing his thing, running all over this Bills defense. The Bills defense could not stop you all night long. You had 200-plus passing yards. You had 235-plus rushing yards. You were torching this Bills defense all night long. They could not do anything about it. And the one real big play that the Bills defense had was obviously like stripping Derrick Henry for the fumble. But when you're in that scenario and it's 4th and 2, even though you're on your own 40, and this is one of those things where conservative play calling in these types of scenarios are things and reasons why you lose games in those scenarios. And I know people hate on Dan Campbell, but Dan Campbell, in a way, kind of does know what he's doing with these scenarios. And in some ways, being aggressive like that works for him a lot of the time. Sometimes it goes against him, sometimes it doesn't. But he's gotten better in terms of knowing when to go for things. If you look at John Harbaugh and you look at the Ravens, they had a chance to win the game yesterday with a first down on their final drive. First play, run to Derrick Henry, got 1 yard. Next play, a screen play thing to Zay Flowers where we handed the ball off to him on kind of like a jet sweep like play. Zay Flowers has the ball. The Bills know that he doesn't want to go out of bounds, so the Bills obviously cover up the sideline because they know that he's not going to run out of bounds. So Zay Flowers kind of has nowhere to go, gets the ball. It's very predictable what they're going to do, especially when we call play where Zay Flowers is moving around back and forth, and you know that Derrick Henry's not even on the field. You know this ball is going to go to Zay Flowers because you know that the Ravens aren't going to throw the ball in that scenario because we want to obviously force the Bills into a timeout and not risk like a dropped pass or something like that to stop the clock. So we know it's going to be some sort of run play. It's like a jet sweep to Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers goes down, gets no yards, right? All of a sudden it's 3rd and 9. And we call kind of a slant play over the middle to DeAndre Hopkins. That was the play. You can literally see Lamar Jackson go over to DeAndre Hopkins and whisper something in his ear before the play starts. And it was kind of like a slant over the middle to DeAndre Hopkins. And I don't know if this was the play design. I don't know if this was DeAndre Hopkins' fault. I don't know if this was Todd Monken's reasoning. But the slant that he ran was like 4 yards before the line to gain. And DeAndre Hopkins caught the ball over the middle on the slant. And it ended up being 4th down and 3. But it was pretty much 4th down and 2. And on their own 40, the Ravens had a chance to win the game. And apparently Lamar Jackson was cramping. I don't know. Apparently Lamar Jackson was cramping, but still in those scenarios, I just think that when you take the ball out of your best player's hands and don't give him a chance to win the game, and you give the ball to the Bills' best player's hands, the guy that's been torching you all night, or the guy that's not all night, the guy that's been torching you in that fourth quarter. Because, I mean, they had 400 passing yards. I'm not taking anything away from Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson was outplaying Josh Allen for most of this game until the fourth quarter hit, and we took the foot off the gas. But Josh Allen still played an incredible game. But when we took the ball out of our best player's hands, we didn't give them a chance to win the game. We gave the ball back to the Bills, and they went out and won the game. Respect to them. Respect to the Bills. Shout out to Bills Mafia. I mean, they got a guy. They do. He's an incredible quarterback, and I think that Lamar versus Josh is going to be a rivalry that we're going to see for a lot of years down the road. We've already seen it quite a few times here recently, but I think with a game like today, the NFL is really going to want to schedule these guys against each other. They're going to always get the primetime game because you have matchups like these. But we took the ball out of our best player's hands. We didn't give Lamar a chance to win the game. The Bills got the ball, and they ended up winning the game because Josh Allen led them down the field. Perfect execution, and they got the win. And there's a lot of other things that happened. The Derrick Henry fumble, the dropped interceptions, everything that happened at the end of the first half where there was like 20 seconds left, no timeouts, and we let them go down the field and get a field goal. The missed extra point. Daniel Falele looking like garbage all game on the offensive line. Everything. You look at everything that you look at the deflected touchdown, the 4th down and 2 deflected off of Dalton Kincaid's hands, just so happened to land in the back of the end zone for Keon Coleman. Extremely lucky play on 4th down, mind you. It's not like it's a play where it's like 2nd down, deflected, caught, touchdown, or like deflected on 2nd down, lands on the ground, and it would have just been 3rd down. No, this was 4th down. If that ball got deflected and landed not right where Keon Coleman just so happened to be, the game would have been over. The game would have changed. The ball went off of his hands, ended up landing right where Keon Coleman was. Extremely lucky play. I think the Bills understand that. The Ravens know that. But again, it's football. I guess these things happen. You know, we've seen this before. The ball just didn't... Legitimately, the ball just didn't bounce your way in that scenario. But you look at all the mistakes that the Ravens made, the fumble, all the things that I just named. You take all of that, all of those self-inflicted wounds, all of the self-inflicted mistakes, the lucky touchdown, all of that, and we still lose by only 1 point on a time-expiring field goal. They did everything they could in this game right, and they still lost the game. They did everything right on offense. They did these things. They had a couple little mistakes that added up over time and ending up costing them at the end of the game because they took their foot off the gas. They did. They took their foot off the gas. Derrick Henry, a first ballot Hall of Fame running back who's known for not fumbling the football, fumbles in this game, ended up being probably the biggest thing that turned the tide in this game because it gave the Bills pretty much a free touchdown in a way. You look back to the Jair Alexander 4th down pass interference call earlier in that game that gave the Bills a free touchdown. I don't think people are really talking about that play on example. It was 4th and 5, and the Bills went forward at midfield. Josh Allen threw a moon ball down the field for Josh Palmer, and Jair Alexander gets a pass interference call on like the 2-yard line, which gave them a free touchdown. So all these little self-inflicted mistakes. We still only lost by 1 point, a game-expiring field goal. The offense did everything it possibly could. Lamar did everything that he could. The offense played amazing. But this defense giving up 400 passing yards and almost 500 total yards and letting 41 get dropped in your head. There is no other team in the NFL yesterday who dropped 40 points other than the Bills, and you scored 40. The 2 teams in the NFL that scored 40 points yesterday, or so far this season, were the Bills and the Ravens, and you just so happen to be playing the Bills, and you gave up 41. So just a horrifying thing. Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers is the leading receiver in the NFL. Derrick Henry is the leading rusher in the NFL, and we're 0-1. That doesn't make any sense. There is some things you can come away with this game. Seeing Zay Flowers, seeing Derrick Henry, see how well that they played in this game before, obviously, the Derrick Henry fumble. You look at everything, and you can come away with a lot of positives. And I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. I don't want to be the guy that's, all, looking towards the next thing. But when it came to the Orioles, I had to be extremely positive and extremely, glass half, like a glass half full type thing. But we cannot let what happened today, we cannot let what happened define us. We cannot let what happened last night define us for the rest of this year. I think the goal moving forward is obviously to beat Cleveland this upcoming Sunday in Week 2. We'll be 1-1 heading into Game 3 in Week 3 against Detroit in Baltimore. And then we go from there. And then I said, like, again, you know, I know people don't want to hear this right now, but it is Week 1. And we still have so much time to change the narrative on this team. We have 16 more games left to go. Calvin Noy recorded a podcast this morning when he got back from Buffalo, kind of saying the exact same thing. So, again, there's a lot of time to change the narrative. There's a lot of things to happen. But let's quickly go over this John Harbaugh press conference, some of the things that he said, and then we'll go over the Orioles game. And, yeah. So one of the things that John Harbaugh said in this game, and one of the things that was really surprising to me was he said that he questioned whether Kyle Hamilton graduated from Notre Dame when he lateraled the 2-point interception to Cal Van Noy. He said he spoke to the safety. I thought that was one of the most foolish things I've ever seen. He agreed, and it should never happen again. So this was a little harsh. This was actually the way that he ended the press conference. I was watching it live on YouTube. They stream all their press conferences on the Ravens YouTube page. But this, to me, this was very kind of like harsh to end the press conference. Put a lot of stuff on Kyle Hamilton, and this was a little weird to me. I think that John Harbaugh does need to look in the mirror a little bit and realize that we've had some very disappointing and blown lead losses because of him. And one thing is that John Harbaugh actually has the most double-digit second half blown lead losses in the NFL since the 90s. He has 17 second half double-digit blown leads. That is insane. And this happened, and this was going on even before Lamar Jackson. John Harbaugh won a Super Bowl, yes. In 2012, he won a Super Bowl. The Ravens almost choked that Super Bowl. We almost blew a, 29 to 6 lead or something in the Super Bowl. We almost blew or like a 28 to 6 lead in the Super Bowl. We almost blew a crazy second half lead. Obviously everyone wants to talk about like the lights going out and stuff during the Super Bowl and like, oh, the 49ers maybe had something to do with it and they rigged it or blah 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 blah. But John Harbaugh has been on record to blow these types of games, and this is before Lamar Jackson. So for the people out there that want to blame Lamar Jackson, like, oh, a common denominator is Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson's the reason this happens, Lamar Jackson this, Lamar Jackson that, this has been going on with John Harbaugh before Lamar Jackson got here. John Harbaugh has been a coach for the Ravens for 18 years. This is Lamar Jackson's 8th season. There's 10 more years of receipts that kind of support this than with Lamar Jackson. Yes, some of them has been with Lamar Jackson, but some of them also were with Joe Flacco all those years ago. There's a graphic that I do want to pull up in a second kind of showing like all the losses. It's crazy when you look at it because it's crazy that you lose every single one of those games. But there was a stat yesterday that teams that score 40 points and run for 235 yards or more are 277-0 in NFL history. Last night was the first time that a team scored 40 points and ran for 235 plus yards and lost. We are making history for the stupidest we are making history in the wrong way. We're making history for the stupidest things ever in the world. And I think with John Harbaugh, the seat, in my opinion, is extremely hot right now. And I also think that John Harbaugh really does need to go. He doesn't really take accountability ever for what happens. I never see him take accountability on any press conference. He always talks about how the players need to make plays, blah, 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 blah. I never see him take accountability. This has been a common denominator throughout this entire thing. The Ravens teams, obviously, throughout the years have had really great talent. They've had really great talent, really great regular season things happen. But they can't win in the playoffs because the mentality isn't there. It's a lazy mentality. They aren't disciplined. It's so many different things that happen. And I don't want to go into kind of a rant like I did yesterday. I guess this is like already turning into a part 2 of that. But it's just disappointing, man. It really is. And I do think that if the Ravens, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, if the Ravens do not win this Super Bowl this season, they need to get rid of John Harbaugh. I think that they should have gotten rid of John Harbaugh when we let Mike Macdonald walk out of the building 2 years ago. I thought that John Harbaugh should have been let go. I thought that Mike Macdonald should have been promoted to head coach, because in that way you would have kept Mike Macdonald in your building. Instead, we let him walk to Seattle. He's now the head coach over there, and he's doing a great job with that. They did lose yesterday, but he's kind of, rebuilding and making things right in that Seattle organization. But Mike Macdonald should have never left the Ravens. I think that he should have been the head coach a long time ago. That's not something that a lot of people want to talk about, because we are, here in the present. There's nothing we can do about that. But it's just one of those things where it's just disappointing. Another thing that John Harbaugh said, he said, "I'm not shying away from putting my defense out there." This is him talking about the fourth down thing. This is him talking about the fourth down at the end of the game where we didn't decide to go for it and we decided to punt the ball, give it to the Bills with a little over a minute with no timeouts, and obviously they ended up going out and winning the game off of this. This is him talking about the end of the game, the last Ravens drive where we punted it. He said, "I'm not shying away from putting my defense out there. I trust our defense, and I'm going to trust our defense this year in a lot of big situations, because our defense is going to be really, really good. I know there's a lot of doubt about that right now." Yes, there is a lot of doubt about that right now. We just gave up 41 points. But this defense has the players and the talent to be amazing. I just do not know if Zach Orr and John Harbaugh are putting these guys in the situations to succeed, and the mentality, I just don't know if is there. I know it kind of looked like Kyle Hamilton was the only person yesterday that really showed up to play on that defense. There was a couple individual good plays for Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins. But like Jair Alexander didn't play good. Roquan Smith did not play good. Trent Simpson did not play good. Namani Madubuike played well. It didn't really feel like there was a lot of pressure on Josh Allen at all. I think that when Mike Green was on the field, he made his impact known, but he wasn't on the field much. I don't know if it was because he's a rookie or what it is, but when Mike Green was on the field, he made an impact. He had a pass deflection in the fourth quarter as well. Calvin Noy, there was some pressure there. Namani Madubuike, there was some pressure there as well, but the pressure really wasn't there in this game, and it just kind of led to the secondary getting kind of torched in this game a little bit. They have the talent out there. They have a first-round pick in Nate Wiggins. They have a first-round pick, obviously, Malachi Starks. Have a second-round pick, should have been first-round pick in Mike Green out there. You have Roquan, who's the highest-paid inside linebacker in the NFL. You have Kyle Hamilton, who's the highest-paid safety in the NFL. And I'm not putting any of this game on Kyle Hamilton, because he played incredible in this game, like he always does. But Kyle Hamilton played incredible. You have Jair Alexander, who is a former multi-time All-Pro player, who you brought in, and he could not have had a worse Ravens debut yesterday, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. He looked a little slow. He was dealing with some knee issues. I don't know if he should have even necessarily been playing. Obviously, the other day when the injury report came out that he was going to play, I was excited, because obviously you love to have that veteran talent out there. Now, looking back at it, I really wish he did not play. I wish you had a guy like TJ Tampa even out there, because Jair Alexander, I don't know if it was the knee, I don't know if it was the turf, I don't know what it was. He did not look good out there at all. He barely has even practiced with the team. I think he had 2 practices with the Ravens before this week, before not practicing for almost a month. So, not necessarily like the greatest circumstances for him. And Josh Allen targeted him in big scenarios, and it ended up working. And most of the time when you target Jair Alexander, it leads to an interception or it leads to a pass breakup because of how good he is, or how good he should be. But John Harbaugh saying the defense is going to be good. They should be. They should be good. They do need to. They do need to figure it out very, very, very fast. And we'll see what happened. It was one of those things, kind of like a final takeaway. Again, we should have 100% gone forward on fourth, in my opinion. This is the John Harbaugh experience. This defense needs to figure it out fast, and the mentality needs to change, and we need to be more disciplined. What's happening with this team is not normal, but we just got to move on to next week. But switching our focus and attention real quick over to this Orioles game that happened yesterday. The Orioles did play in Game 3, which was the series finale against the Dodgers. And the Orioles went out there and they did lose this game yesterday. But if you think back to 2 days ago, the miraculous walk-off win that they won this series 2-1 over the Dodgers. So no matter what happened in yesterday's game, the Orioles already won the series. If they won yesterday, they would have swept the Dodgers. If they lost, then they still would have won the series. But their 5-game losing streak does come to an end. But again, the Orioles walked them off 3 days ago. They walked them off 2 days ago, and then they lost in yesterday's game. But those two walk-offs were obviously, as we know, the highlight of the Orioles season. The two best wins of the year: the Samuel Basallo walk-off home run, and then obviously 2 days ago was the Emmanuel Rivera 8.2 innings being no hit, to the Jackson Holiday home run, to guys getting on base with 1 out to spare, to the Emmanuel Rivera walk-off win. We were down 3-0 in the fourth. Down 3-0, getting no hit in the 9th inning. Just so much to talk about in that game. I really do recommend going to listen to that podcast, because I recorded the episode like 5 minutes after that happened, and I was just in absolute shock. I don't remember exactly what episode it was. I think it was 2 episodes ago. But that was insane. But going over this Orioles game really quickly. Again, the Orioles do not have a game today. They're back at it again tomorrow in a 3-game series starting tomorrow. But going over this Dodgers and Orioles game, the series was in Baltimore. It was Clayton Kershaw pitching for the Dodgers. It was Tomoyuki Sugano pitching for the Orioles. And Sugano did not have a great day. He gave up 4 of the 5 total runs the Dodgers scored. So Sugano didn't play well. Kershaw played pretty damn well at the age that he is. Kershaw got 5.2 innings, gave up 2 runs, had 8 strikeouts. And Clayton Kershaw is how old? Let me check this real quick. Clayton Kershaw is how old is Clayton Kershaw? He's in his 40s. He's old. He's an old guy out there, but he went out there and played very well against the Orioles, so shout out to him. He's a legend, a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. But going over this Dodgers and Orioles game, the Orioles offense put up 8 total hits in this game. They went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. We lost this game 5-2. We only scored 2 runs. So we had a lot of guys actually take the day off in this game. Jackson Holiday didn't play. Colton Cowser didn't play. Samuel Basallo didn't play. Dylan Beavers didn't play. So we had Jeremiah Jackson leading off yesterday. He went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. His average has gone down a little bit, but I mean, it's fine. We understand how good that he's been so far this year. He still has above a 300 average. So Jeremiah Jackson went 0 for 4. Ryan Mountcastle went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. And also, the Orioles struck out 15 times yesterday. I think everybody was kind of just on cloud 9 from the walk-off the night before. So nobody was really locked in for this game, which I don't blame them, to be honest. Ryan Mountcastle 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Gunnar Henderson went 1 for 4 with a run scored and 2 strikeouts. Emmanuel Rivera went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run scored. He was the hero of the game the day before. He went out there, had a multiple hit game. He was the only Oriole with multiple hits in this game also. Also, everyone on the Orioles struck out at least once, which was kind of funny. But Emmanuel Rivera, 2 for 4 with a run scored and an RBI. Austin Jackson, 1 for 4 with an RBI. So Austin Jackson and Emmanuel Rivera were the 2 guys that drove in the runs for the Orioles in this game. So that's just the type of day it was. But again, I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I don't think you guys understand. Those 2 walk-offs that happened was such a big highlight of the year that I don't necessarily even care if we lose like the rest of our games. As long as I'm seeing player development, that was the peak of the season right there. And it was just such a cool moment. I'm so glad it happened. But Dylan Carlson went 1 for 3. Kobe Mayo went 1 for 4. Jorge Mateo went 1 for 4. And Luis Vasquez went 1 for 4. So overall, the Orioles offense didn't really do much. But going over to the pitching, Tomoyuki Sugano gets the loss, 10-8 on the season now. He did not have a good game at all. Only got through 3 innings of work, 67 pitches through 3 innings. Gave up 7 hits, no walks, 4 runs, and 3 home runs. He gave up a home run. He gave up 2 home runs to Shohei Ohtani and a home run to Mookie Betts. So Shohei Ohtani hit 2 home runs off of him. Mookie Betts hit a home run off of him, and he ended up giving up 4 runs in this game. Not a great game by Tomoyuki Sugano. Only got through 3 innings, gave up 3 home runs. But again, Shohei Ohtani is the best player on the planet, so you can't really blame him too much for that. Grant Wolfram got through 2 innings, gave up no runs. Shout out to him. Cade Stroud didn't give up a run. Keegan Aiken didn't give up a run. Yinir Cano didn't give up a run. And then Rico Garcia ended up giving up a run in the 9th inning. But the Orioles did lose this game 5-2. The bullpen did its thing. The bullpen really played well. Wolfram to Stroud to Aiken to Cano, they all played really well. Yinir Cano's been playing a lot better here recently, but the Orioles do lose this game 5-2. They are 66-77 on the year, back to being 11 games below 500. And if we look at the schedule real quick, guys, we are coming up on the end of the year. We only have 6. We only have 6 more series left this season. A 3-game series against Pittsburgh that starts tomorrow. A 3-game series against the Blue Jays in Toronto. A 3-game series against the White Sox in Chicago. A 4-game series against the Yankees in Baltimore. A 3-game series against the Rays in Baltimore. And then we close out the season the 26th, 27th, and 28th of September in New York. So that's how the season's going to end. 6 more series left of baseball to play. We're back at it again tomorrow. It is going to be Kyle Bradish pitching tomorrow, and then we have Tyler Wells pitching on Wednesday, and then we have Cade Povich pitching on Thursday, and we are facing Paul Skeens on Wednesday, so that should be interesting, but we'll see what happens with that. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. I recorded an episode last night, uploaded it last night, and we're obviously uploading an episode right now, kind of early this afternoon. But I did want to get this episode recorded out and ready for you guys because, there was a lot that happened. Obviously, wanted to kind of talk about the Ravens game just a little bit more after sleeping on the game. Just kind of wanted to give some updates on that, give some talks about that. Kind of wanted to go over the John Harbaugh press conference as well, and also wanted to go over the Orioles game from yesterday because I did miss out on it because I'm going to be honest with you guys, last night the only thing I really wanted to talk about was that Ravens game. I think if the Ravens ended up winning yesterday, I would have talked about the Orioles game, but I mean the way that game happened yesterday and ended, how could you not just be solely focused on that? And I also do want to give a shout out to Kobe Mayo because Kobe Mayo actually was at the Orioles game yesterday in Buffalo. He posted a picture on his Instagram story of him in Buffalo for the game. So shout out to Kobe Mayo supporting his football team, his hometown team not his hometown team, but obviously supporting the Ravens with him being on the Orioles. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to click the link in the bio to check out the Twitter and the Instagram. Make sure to give those a follow. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow up on Spotify. Make sure to like the video on YouTube as well. And we've got some very big production things happening very, very, very soon. Working very hard behind the scenes. That'll be getting revealed here within the next few days, hopefully. But again, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys the next one. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a great day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see you later. Peace out.